Hey guys, and welcome back to your One Room Schoolhouse. If you are new here, my name is Mary Barfield, and I'm a homeschooling mama to a first grader and a third grader this year. And today's video is going to be the second video in a review series that I am doing all about the Little School of Smith's American Girl U.S. History units. Now, we completed Kaya last year. I have that video already up and that review ready to go for you guys. If you want to check that out, I'll link it down below, as well as this total playlist so you can, keep on tracking with us to see how all the units go. But we just finished up Felicity's unit, and that is all about growing up in colonial America. It is set in 1774 with Felicity, but you learn all about all the events that were happening in the American history at that time. We cover Paul Revere, American Revolution, Boston Tea Party. We learn about George Washington and King George III. It's full of so much goodness. So if you are interested in hearing all about how this went, specifically the Little School of Smith units, or you're looking for a gentle introduction to American history for your young learners, this will be a really great video and video series that I will be doing throughout the rest of the year for you to follow along with. So if that is what you're interested in, grab a cup of coffee, grab some laundry to fold, and let's get into it. So first off, I'm just going to do a quick introduction to Little School of Smiths. If you're not familiar with them and you just stumbled upon my video because you're looking for a U.S. history curriculum for your young learners, I just want to tell you a little bit about them. So the owner of that company is Lindsay. She is a homeschooling mama. She is a one-woman show, and she is creating amazing curriculum products if you're looking for anything for history to science to little bitty units that are perfect for young minds. So specifically, we are really loving her series where she made units for each of the American Girl history dolls. And so we completed Kaya last year, and this year we are working through an entire year of American Girl U.S. history. We are doing all the girls from Felicity and then ending with Molly. So we are starting with colonial America, which we just completed, and then we will be doing everyone in between and then ending our school year with around the World War II time frame with Molly. So all of these units are digital PDFs, so that keeps the cost down and it makes it easy for you to print out what you need and what you don't need, and it makes it easily accessible to you so you're not having to wait on it to be shipped to you. Her units generally include a lot of hands-on activities. There's a lot of literature. You have your main spines, but then she offers multiple other books that you can check out from the library, or if you find them and you thrift them, that's even better. So it's very much literature-based. There's tons of video options, lots of hands-on crafts. There's a little bit of something for everybody, whether you're Charlotte Mason, an unschooler, you're Waldorf, you're classical. Her units can truly work for everyone in some capacity. And I love that she kind of leaves it up to you. She gives you like, this is what you should be doing, but you create your own schedule and you pick and choose what works best for you. That's why we've loved her unit so far. And one other thing to mention before we get into Felicity, Lindsay was kind enough to give me a discount code for you guys. It'll get you 10% off of your purchase through her website. I'll leave the code here as well as down below with her website link. I don't get any commissions or anything. She's a really small shop. She's not able to do that quite yet, but she is able to offer a discount to you guys, and I thought that was really kind of her to give me that to give to you guys and pass along. So hopefully that'll help you guys out a little bit too. All right, let's get into how the last couple of weeks went. So just so you guys know, these units are scheduled to be done over 4 weeks. However, you can do them a lot faster if you want to. You can also spread them out a little bit. We originally went into the school year planning to do the American Girls over 2 years. So the first half of Felicity, we did over 4 weeks. Then some things changed with our curriculum and we decided, hey, let's just do a full year of American Girl history and follow the 4-week schedule. So the last 2 weeks, we actually did over 2 weeks as they are scheduled to be done. So you're supposed to do 4 weeks per girl. We ended up doing Felicity in 6 weeks. It was totally fine. The last 2 weeks were totally a good pace for us. We had no issues keeping up with it since we aren't doing any other history or any other big elective curriculum on top of that. So that has worked out perfectly for us. So moving forward in my videos, you'll see with the girls, we will do them in 4 weeks and that'll be great for our schedule. Next, let's go through what spines you will need to complete the program. These are the bare minimum books you absolutely need to do the study. Everything else that I'm going to share with you were either suggestions that she made that would really enrich the program, or I brought them in because I either had them because I thrifted them or I was doing them from another program and it just tied in nicely. So this is what you absolutely have to do the unit. So first off, you need Meet Felicity. So these are the chapter books that you will need. This is book 1. You will need book 2, Felicity Learns a Lesson. And then you will skip book 3 because you will need book 4, which is Happy Birthday Felicity. Now, for those of you concerned as to why are you skipping book 3, book 3 is in the girls series, is their Christmas special book. You are able, we didn't have any issues skipping from book 2 to go to book 4 with the story information. There was one mention of something that happened in book 3, but the girls didn't even catch it. I was a little worried about that. I was like, uh-oh, we're not reading in chronological order because we do have book 3. I was like, maybe we should just throw that in there, but it worked out totally fine. The other thing is that Lindsay over at Little School of Smith has a special Christmas unit where she brings in all the girls' Christmas books. So if you do have those and you want to do a Christmas special at December, you can absolutely then work those books in at that time. So you need the 3 chapter books, okay? And then you also need Welcome to Felicity's World. This book is a gem. My girls love this. This isn't like a chapter book or a living narrative book, but what it is it brings in a lot of the visuals and it brings in a lot of information about what was going on at that time. It also, it brings in information about what was going on with Felicity, like it'll tie in stuff for Felicity. Here we're learning about what it was like to be a kid growing up, what kind of toys they had. But it is more about the historical period, not so much Felicity. Some mentions of Felicity will be in here, like when it talks about, oh, hopscotch for the kids, it'll be like Felicity would have played that. Just to kind of tie it into the books, of course, that you're reading about Felicity. It talks about the daily toilet, hygiene, how bathing worked back then. My girls were a little grossed out about that one. There is also some narratives in here where they'll talk about like a story about something that was happening. So this one specifically was a quick, brief talk about Thomas Jefferson's wife and how she passed away in childbirth. But it's not gruesome or anything, but it's just, it kind of brings you into some of the things that were going on with people at that time. It talks about the war. I mean, you can see there's so many good visuals. There's a lot of good information that they can learn about how people lived back then, and also about the American Revolutionary War. There was a lot of good details in here about that as well. Something to note, these Welcome to the Girls' World, because all of the original girls have one of these books, one of these hardbacks. If you are unable to find it or unable to find it within your budget, because this one I think I was able to find for $15, but I remember Kaya's World, I couldn't find it for less than $120, y'all. That was wild. So what I did for Kaya and what you could do for any of the girls is all the information in this book is in the backs of these chapter books. So at the very back, there is something that they will do after the story is over. It's called A Peek into the Past, and it'll have all of that information in here, just in smaller format. But in order to get all the information in the World Book, you would then need to purchase all 6 of the books in the girls series, because each girl has 6 books. Now you already have to purchase these 3, so it would just be another 3 that you would have to purchase. And if you use thrift books, that's where I was able to find most of these, or my local thrift store, I was able to get them for $5 or less. I got some for free. I purchased some for 50 cents, some for $3. So if you count that, even if you purchase each for $5, that's $15 for the extra 3 you would need. That is way cheaper than the $120 I was going to spend on Kaya, if that makes sense. So save yourself some money. If you cannot find the World Book at a reasonable price, just buy the 3 other books, thrift those somewhere else. Thrift books, like I said, is a great resource for that. And then I fortunately found a ton at my thrift store as well. So those are all the spines that you will need. Before we hop into the supplemental books, I first want to talk about what topics you will be talking about in each week, because then I will talk about what supplemental books I brought in to support those topics. So each week, you're not only reading about Felicity and learning about her world through that bigger book, you're also hitting a specific topic each week that you will then really dig into through videos, extra books if you want to, projects, hands-on crafts, things like that. And in the first week, you are learning all about the Boston Tea Party, which was my kids kind of found it funny. They're like, oh, they're throwing the tea into the harbor. You know, they thought it was kind of silly. But I tried to impress upon them the importance of that was kind of I don't know if I would call that a full turning point, but I feel like that was the turning point because that's when the Boston blockade came in and then things really ramped up. So I think that's when things started getting a little spicy. So I would call it the turning point personally. But I was not able to find any good Boston Tea Party books at my library, and I really didn't want to purchase any because I had already purchased a bunch of other books. So we relied heavily on what we learned in Felicity's World, as well as there were some videos that she included in the program that we watched, and I found some other ones, and that was totally satisfactory for us. But something that ended up being a perfect tie-in to that time was we read Benjamin Franklin from Delaire. This we actually had brought in because of Ambleside Online Year 1 schedule. We're reading all those biographies, but it ended up tying in perfectly because the Boston Tea Party, that's when Benjamin Franklin was really being brought in. He was going over to France to negotiate with them. So it actually worked out timeline-wise perfectly to read this book. I read a little bit every day. I read about 10 pages, and it's the pages are very easy to read, great illustrations. My girls loved this book, y'all. So I read this during the first week of the American Girl History Unit, and this was a great compliment. So definitely check this one out. Next, in week 2, it is all about colonial life. What is it like living there? I ended up bringing in this book myself. This was, again, not a Lindsay recommendation from Little School of Smiths. This is one I had thrifted 2 years ago randomly because I thought it looked like such a good book. But I think she does recommend this. I just so happened to have thrifted it 2 years ago. Either way, get this book. It's great if you can find it. It's called Colonial Voices, Hear Them Speak. And it literally goes through each child in Boston, or not each child, each person in Boston. They talk about the errand boy and he's running around through the street, the printer, because he's running off to the printer and he's telling them about the meeting that they're going to have about what's to come. And then it ends up, resulting in the Boston Tea Party. The shoemaker, we have the basket the basket trader. I mean, it's got great illustrations. It's kind of written in a poem, but the girls really liked it. It gave us a really good insight to what it was like depending on who you were living back at that time. And again, this is one I just read over the week. I read a few pages. I split it up into 5 days. I read a few pages at a time, and then by the Friday we had finished it up and we had kind of learned what it was like living back in colonial times. Week 3 is all about learning about Paul Revere's ride and that time period when they were trying to figure out if the British were going by sea or land and that whole thing. And so I ended up going ahead and I purchased this one. It's Paul Revere's Ride. It is the original poem, but it's set in a way that there's beautiful illustrations that go along with it. And this I really thought was a good purchase for us because we will actually be using the same book in a few years for Ambleside Online's readings. It's part of their short works, I think, for year 4 schedule. You read this as well as Sleepy Hollow and Rip Van Winkle are the 3 books that you read. So I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and buy this one. I bought it new, I couldn't find it used, and honestly, I just felt like it was a good investment because it was still only $5, I think, off of Amazon, because I will be using this again in year 4 for both of my girls as they go through that year. And then week 4 was all about George Washington as well as the Revolutionary War. So I had a lot of good books for this one. So we also, again, per the Ambleside Online Year 1 biography track, they recommend Dolaire's George Washington book. My girls really liked this one as well. They gave all the Delaire books, I think, 4 or 5 stars. I always have them rate the books at the end. It's an easy read. Again, you just count the pages, divide it into 5 different sections. If there's 50 pages, read 10 pages a day. But as you can see, 10 pages means this, that's it. You know what I mean? So this was a really good tie-in because it starts with George Washington in his younger, when he's first born, all the way to the end when he becomes the first president of the United States, I should say. So this was a really great book, great illustrations. My kids were super, they loved the Delaire books. We still have 2 more that we're reading this year. So I'm excited to bring those in. This one, I cannot remember, again, if this was a suggestion from me or Lindsay, or if, again, I had just thrifted this before I even purchased the American Girl unit. Just so happened I had this in my home library. This one is another good one. It's called A More Perfect Union, the story of our Constitution. So it's all about after the war has been won, we are now America, but hey, we need to figure out how to govern ourselves. Like, how do we create this Constitution and this thing called the Bill of Rights? You know, how did that happen? So this is a picture book. It's written in a way that's super easy for the kids to digest. And it again ends or, you know, leads us to current day government. I mean, it doesn't really go through the whole thing, but it talks real briefly about the 3 branches and things like that. So this was a really good one. My oldest, who's 8, really got a lot out of this. My 6-year-old, she kind of understood some of it, but she was kind of just along for the ride with this one, if I'm being honest. Government's kind of a tough thing to kind of wrap your brain around, even as an adult. So that was a really good add-on. And these 2 books are not ones that we use, but I do have in my home library. This would be really good if you had a much older learner, like a late elementary, early middle schooler. These would be great to bring in for them if you wanted to have just more reference books. So it's the Eyewitness book for American Revolution, as well as the DK Eyewitness American Revolution book. They're 2 different like series for DK, if that makes sense. They're both very similar. I wouldn't purchase both. I would pick one. I just happened to thrift both of these for 50 cents each, and so why not? We did not use these, like I said. It was too much. That was plenty. What I just showed you was perfect for my younger students, but I just wanted to mention these. If you had older students, these would be good tie-ins and additions for them. So that's all the books that we read. Let's talk about the things that we did. Like, how did it go? Did we enjoy it? I don't want to give away all of her information, but I do want to share some of the stuff that we did. So I'm just going to give you a sneak peek into some of the things. So first off, if you've been following me on my Instagram, you might have already seen some of these. And if you're not following me and you want to see the behind the scenes, the day-to-day stuff, follow me at Your One Room Schoolhouse on Instagram. I share in my stories a ton there. And you'll kind of get a preview before these videos come out of what we've been doing. So I have both of my girls, their narration notebooks. So I went ahead and got an Amazon's Basics sketch pad. It's an extra large. So as you can see, this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet. It can fit a whole sheet without even cutting it down on the page if you want to paste something in there. That's why I got the extra large. It's really nice in that respect. It has 100 pages, which means we should be able to do all of the girls in one sketchbook. And this will be a keepsake that the girls have for themselves later on to look back at. So I pasted the main American Girl history sheet from the Little Goldsmiths on the front for each girl. They wrote their name and then we taped it on there. And then Kaya's in the first part of this book. So this is my youngest's narration book. But so some of the things we did, we went over the 13 colonies. We watched a video about it. We named them. What are some other things that she did? I thought this was funny. We did a little narration notebook about the Boston Tea Party. That's the little guys throwing all in the tea. Look at angry face. I think that's supposed to be, that is King George angry that the colonialists are throwing the tea in the water. These just crack me up. Oh, she had this link that we clicked on for YouTube, and it was a how to draw George Washington. So each of the girls drew him. Then I drew lines, and then they told me their narration about him, and then I wrote that into the notebook for them. Let's see. And again, this is my just turned 6-year-old's work, just to kind of give you an idea of what to expect, I guess, from each age level. So that was my not third grader, my first grader. Sorry guys. This is my third grader. So she obviously added a little bit more detail. They were like, oh no, the tea is going in the harbor. There's King George angry and mad in England. And then, we learned about plantations. And so one of the things that we were supposed to do was draw our own plantation from like a bird's eye view. And so my oldest daughter did all of these different buildings. She had the main house, the garden, the harbor, or the wharf is what they called it. The barn, all that stuff. And then I wrote her narration here. Let's see. Oh, and then they did this thing. She didn't finish this, but they did a thing where they printed out a sheet and I pasted it in, and they were supposed to color the blue coats, red coats. So here's a red coat. She didn't finish that. We ran out of time on Friday, so she's going to do that this week. The blue coats were the colonialists, the loyalists, patriots, whatever you want to call it. And then they're just kind of talking about the difference between the two sides fighting each other. So that's not everything we did, but those are kind of some of the highlights to show you what kind of work we were doing in our narration notebooks. Another thing that we did at the end of the last week, we did a movie afternoon, and on YouTube, I was able to find for free, it's called, let me get the title right, it's An American Girl Adventure, Felicity. I'll link it down below for you guys. You can pay for like what is probably a little bit better quality version of it on I think on Prime, but I was cheap and I did the free version and it worked out just fine. Shailene Woodley, who is the main actress in Divergent and so many other films, but that's what most people know her from. She's actually Felicity. It was so weird to see a young Shailene Woodley. I think that's how you say her last name. But yeah, it was kind of cool to see her as a young actress, and it was a really good video. It was very well done. And the girls really enjoyed watching that at the end of all the weeks learning about Felicity. She also had quite a few short videos, links in the program that we could click on through all of the weeks that like pertain to the topic we were learning about. So I'm just gonna read this off my checklist because I don't wanna forget. We watched videos on the 13 colonies. We watched a traditional colonial dance from Colonial Williamsburg. My kids now want to go there. We will probably be doing a small trip in the spring to go to Colonial Williamsburg because it was truly one of my favorite places to visit when I was younger. I know I've always loved the colonial time period. It's funny, but I even had like an old slate that I got from there. I mean, it really I loved the colonial era. I've been a history buff since I was a child. So I was excited when my girls were like, can we go to Colonial Williamsburg? I was like, absolutely we can. So that will be coming up in the future. We also watched some videos on Paul Revere's ride, the American Revolution, all of it. Like she had so many good videos linked. It was a really nice compliment because sometimes it's just nice to have somebody else explain it in a video with really good visuals and production, if I'm being honest. So one of the activities I want to share with you that we did, we made our own quills. So we used, what are these called? Plastic straw and feathers. And she had tea dyed paper instructions in the curriculum too, so we dyed paper to make it look like parchment. The thing she did not have, but I was able to find easily on Pinterest, and I'll link down below the recipe I used, was a recipe using like blueberries, blackberries. It's crushed up with, what did I put in it? It was vinegar, salt, some other stuff. It was super easy, and I made our own ink, and it dries black like normal ink, and the girls were able to dip their quills in and literally drew and wrote. Like I was like, this is so cool. So they loved doing that activity. That was a fun one for them. During week 2, when we were learning about colonial life, they loved that spread in the girls' American Girl Felicity's World book, where it talked about what kind of games they played, hopscotch, jacks, things like that, Ring Around the Rosie. We played some of those games outside. They had a really good time with that. There were truly so many things that she recommends. There was a cross stitch pattern to cross stitch a bear. There was a recipe to make apple jacks with apple butter. There was so much in this curriculum that we did not get to, but also we chose not to do some of it just because it wasn't our jam, right? Like maybe sewing isn't our thing, but maybe it's your thing. She just provides so much for every family's interest level. So there were so many things that we either did not get to or just didn't do because it didn't jive with our family dynamics, but you guys might love. So I'm telling you, this was a really great intro to American Revolution, the colonial time period. We are about to hop into Caroline. I'm filming this on the Sunday before Caroline starts. So today the girls asked if we could do a colonial day. So like we've been literally using candles to see around our house, no electricity, or we're not using anything with electricity except I'm allowing our gas stove and the oven because they had ovens back then. I was like, girls, I need to be able to cook and like make you food. And they're like, okay. And the refrigerator. I didn't want any of our food to spoil. And they had ways of keeping food cold back then. And it's created a conversation to talk about that. The only thing I asked them if I was allowed to do was film this video that is more modern, right? Beyond that, like we're wearing dresses today, it's just all the little things. It's making them think about how life works. That's not something that Little School of Smith suggests to do. That was like something we kind of came up with on Friday. I was like, we should do a colonial day this weekend and see what it's like to live back then. And it will really make you kind of appreciate modern conveniences, let's just say that. So once this video goes off, I am done with electricity for the rest of the day, and we are just gonna live like the colonials did back then. But we had a fantastic time. The girls learned so much. My 8-year-old is absolutely loving this, and you know what? So is my 6-year-old. I wasn't sure if she would connect with a lot of it. There were a few books and bits and pieces where she kind of loses, she's like, it doesn't really quite make sense, and that's fine, but she's getting little nuggets here and there, and that's all that matters. So when we come back to American history at a later date, she'll remember these things like the Boston Tea Party and things like that. So it's been a really good couple of weeks. I'm so excited to hop into Caroline here. Tomorrow, actually, we'll be learning about the War of 1812 then. So stay tuned. In another 4 weeks, you'll get another one of these review videos talking all about Caroline. If you have any questions about anything I went over in this video, leave it down in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer any of those for you guys. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you are new to my channel and you want to see how the rest of our year goes with American Girl history, definitely hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, y'all.